My friend, before we walk together into this message, I want you to take a moment and look at the title you clicked. Put these 3 numbers in your pocket and watch the money roll in. Some may hear that and laugh. Some may scroll past it and shake their head, but you didn't. Something inside you tugged at your spirit. Something whispered, stop. Listen. There's something here for you, and I want to tell you today, you were right to stop. You were right to listen. Because there are moments in life when God places a key right in front of you, and all you have to do is reach out and take it. Not because numbers have magic, not because paper controls destiny, but because faith, intention, and spiritual alignment are powerful forces that heaven honors when they are activated with sincerity. Now lean in with me. Let your heart be open. Let your spirit be attentive, because what I am about to share is not superstition. It is not a gimmick. It is not a trick to manipulate God. It is an act of alignment, an act of focus, a way of tuning your mind, your energy, your expectation into the frequency of blessing. And when a person aligns themselves, truly aligns themselves with the flow of God's goodness, extraordinary things begin to move in their life. You see, people today talk about manifestation, attraction, vibration. They talk about energy, intention, and positivity. And while some have twisted these ideas away from their spiritual roots, the truth is that Scripture and spiritual wisdom have always taught one thing clearly. As a man believes in his heart, so is he. What you expect, you move toward. What you meditate on, you strengthen. What you speak, you invite. What you believe, you empower. So when you clicked on that title, whether you realized it or not, you were responding to a call your spirit already understood. A call toward change, a call toward increase, a call toward greater things. And, my friend, hear me clearly, God does not condemn your desire for financial peace. God does not rebuke your hope for abundance. God does not shame your longing for overflow. The Scriptures say that God delights in the prosperity of His children. This does not mean greed. It does not mean selfishness. It does not mean chasing wealth for the sake of pride. It means living free from fear. It means being able to give generously. It means having the resources to create, to support, to bless, to build, to help, to uplift. When your heart is right, abundance becomes a tool, not a trap. And now we come to this moment, this sacred teaching about 3 numbers that changed my life. Some may hear that and dismiss it instantly. But before you judge the method, listen to the message behind it. Because numbers throughout history have carried meaning. God Himself used numbers with intention. 3 for the Trinity, 7 for completion, 12 for divine government, 40% for seasons of testing, 70% for empowerment. Numbers aren't random. They are part of the spiritual architecture of creation. And today we will work with 3 of them in a way that prepares your mind and spirit to receive the goodness that has been waiting for you. But before we get there, before I place these codes into your hands, I want to speak to you personally, because I know what it feels like to be desperate. I know what it feels like to be at the edge. I know what it feels like to wonder where the next blessing is going to come from. I remember days when my pockets were empty, but my stress was full. I remember nights when I laid awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how life had drifted so far from the peace I once knew. And I remember the humiliation, the quiet kind you carry alone, the kind you never talk about because you don't want others to see how close you are to breaking. But I also remember the moment everything began to turn. It didn't start with a miracle check. It didn't start with a lottery win. It didn't start with a promotion. It began with a shift on the inside. A moment when God whispered to my spirit, lift your head, open your heart, prepare yourself for change. And that whisper became the spark that led me to a simple practice, writing down 3 numbers on a small piece of white paper, speaking a prayer of gratitude, and placing it in my pocket. Now, some of you will say, how could something so simple matter? But my friend, listen to me. God does not need complicated tools. He only needs willing hearts. When Moses stretched out his staff, It wasn't the wood that parted the sea. It was obedience. When David lifted a sling, it wasn't the stone that defeated Goliath. It was faith. When Jesus told the blind man to wash in the pool, it wasn't the water that opened his eyes. It was surrender. And when you take a pen, write these numbers, tuck them into your pocket, and walk with expectation. It is not the paper that moves the blessing. It is your alignment with heaven's flow. This message today is an invitation to alignment. So I'm going to ask you to do something very simple right now. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Right where you are, take a slow breath in. Feel your shoulders loosen. Feel the weight on your chest soften just a little. And in that quiet place, I want you to imagine something. Imagine God's hand placing a key into your palm, a golden key, a key that unlocks doors you've been knocking on for years, doors of financial peace, doors of opportunity, doors of new beginnings, doors of restoration, doors of unexpected favor. As you feel that key in your hand, understand this. God never puts a key in your hand unless there is a door waiting for you to open. Now slowly open your eyes, because today you are about to use that key. This is not superstition. It is not hocus pocus. It is not magic. It is faith in action. It is intention brought to life. It is your spirit saying, I am ready, I am willing, I am open. It is your heart stepping out of fear and into expectation. And expectation, my friend, is the magnet of miracles. So take your white paper, take your pen. If you have a blue one, even better, not because blue is magical, but because blue has always represented peace, clarity, calmness, and spiritual truth. It sets the tone of what we are about to do. It signals to your mind that something sacred is happening. And right before we write the first number, I want you to declare this softly under your breath. I am ready for my life to change. Speak it clearly. Speak it with conviction. Speak it as if heaven is leaning in to listen. My friend, now that your heart has settled, now that your spirit has opened just a little wider, we can step deeper into this moment together, because what we are about to write, what we are about to imprint onto that small piece of paper you're holding is not just ink. It is intention. It is alignment. It is the beginning of a shift that heaven has been waiting for you to activate for a very long time. Before we write the first sacred number, I want to remind you of something. God moves through faith, yes. God moves through prayer, yes. But God also moves through symbols. He moves through reminders. He moves through physical acts that awaken spiritual truth. That is why the Israelites raised memorial stones. That is why prophets anointed with oil. That is why Jesus broke bread and poured wine. That is why Gideon laid out a fleece. These were not random rituals. They were deliberate acts that aligned the heart with God's movement. Today, that small piece of paper will serve the same purpose for you. Now hold your paper gently. Feel it between your fingers. Notice how empty it is. Notice how silent it is. Because in a moment you will give it a voice. You will give it purpose. You will turn it into a declaration. But first, I want you to reflect on something powerful. Every shift in life begins with a decision. Not a wish, not a hope, not a dream, a decision. A moment when you draw a line in the sand and say, I am done living the way I used to live. I am done thinking the way I used to think. I am done allowing fear to shape my financial story. Today I choose something better. Today I choose abundance. You see, abundance is not just money. Abundance is not just prosperity. Abundance is a mindset, a posture, a spiritual openness, a willingness to believe that God did not place you on this earth to struggle endlessly, to suffer continually, to scrape through life with your head bowed low. The scriptures tell us that God is a God of more than enough, a God of overflowing blessings, a God who fills cups, not empties them, a God who multiplies, not subtracts. When you walk with Him, you walk with abundance in all its forms. And that brings us to the first sacred number, 888. Take your pen, hold it for a moment, let your hand relax, And as you write those digits carefully, clearly, with intention, understand the meaning behind them. The number 8 is the number of abundance because it mirrors the infinity symbol. It has no beginning and no end. It represents a flow that cannot be stopped, a cycle that cannot be broken, a blessing that cannot be limited. And when you write it 3 times, you are multiplying that flow. You are affirming abundance in body, abundance in mind, abundance in spirit. You are calling forth a triple portion of what heaven has stored for you. Write it slowly, 888. And as the ink touches the paper, speak softly within your heart. I am open to abundance. Feel the truth of those words rise through you. Feel something inside you loosen, lighten, lift. Because abundance is not something you chase. It is something you tune into. It is like a radio frequency. If you're out of alignment, you hear static. But when you tune in correctly, the message becomes clear. The sound becomes crisp. The guidance becomes unmistakable. Writing 888 is your way of tuning in. It is your declaration that you are stepping back into the flow of divine provision. Now breathe. Let your shoulders soften. Let your heart open a little more. Next comes the second number, 520. Before you write it, let me tell you why this number is important. Unexpected money often comes when your guard is down, when you are not worrying, when you are not chasing, when you are not forcing outcomes. Sometimes blessings sneak in through back doors. Sometimes favor arrives disguised. Sometimes abundance slips into your life quietly, without warning, without announcement, without explanation. But many people miss these blessings because they are so fixed on how they think money should come that they fail to receive the ways God intends to send it. That is why this number matters. 520 symbolizes unexpected income, not from your job, not from your regular channels, not from predictable sources. It represents surprise provision, blessings that come from the blind spots, the overlooked corners, the mysterious places where God moves unseen. When you write 520, you are saying, Lord, I am open, I am available, I am ready to receive from any direction you choose. Write it now, 520. Let your hand move gently, let your heart remain open. And as you finish the last digit, take a moment to reflect on all the unexpected good things that have already happened in your life. Things you didn't plan, didn't earn, didn't anticipate. If God did it before, He can do it again. If heaven has ever surprised you once, heaven can surprise you again. Now we move to the third sacred number, 777. Ah, my friend, this one is powerful, not because 7 is lucky, but because 7 is divine. 7 is spiritual perfection. 7 is heavenly alignment. 7 is completion in the realm of faith. And when you triple it, 777, you are calling down supernatural favor, supernatural alignment, supernatural breakthroughs in your finances. People often think wealth comes only from effort, but effort alone cannot guarantee success. There are people who work themselves to the bone and remain stuck. There are people who grind endlessly yet never move forward. Why? Because effort without divine timing is exhaustion, but effort with divine timing becomes elevation. 777 invites divine timing into your financial story. Write it now, 777. Let those digits carry meaning. Let them carry purpose. And as you finish, whisper quietly, not with your mouth, but with your spirit, let favor find me. Now hold your paper. Look at it. 3 numbers, 3 codes, 3 declarations of faith. But we are not finished yet because numbers guide intention, but gratitude seals blessing. Turn your paper over. On the back, we will write a sentence that opens the floodgates of blessing. A sentence that speaks to God, not in begging, not in pleading, but in confidence. A sentence that acknowledges that the blessing has already begun. Write these words. Thank you, God, because I am already attracting money and abundance into my life. Not I will, not I hope, not I wish, but I am already. This is faith in action. And now at the bottom in capital letters, write the final declaration. ITIS, done. Not maybe, not someday, not when I'm lucky. It is done. Because spiritually, once faith activates, heaven begins to move immediately. Before we end this part, I want you to hold your paper against your chest, close your eyes, breathe slowly, and just feel the quiet shift happening within you, that soft stirring, that gentle rising, that subtle sense of readiness. That is your spirit aligning. My friend, now that the numbers have been written, now that your intention has been set, we must walk into the part that most people overlook, the part that transforms these numbers from ink on paper into a living declaration of faith, because writing is only the beginning. Anyone can write digits. Anyone can copy instructions. Anyone can fold a paper and tuck it into a pocket. But it is the spirit behind the action that turns a simple ritual into a breakthrough, a shift, a blessing waiting to unfold. And I want you to understand something before we go deeper. God honors movement. God honors obedience. God honors the heart that says, I am ready, when a person takes even the smallest step of faith, whether it is touching the hem of a garment, stretching out a hand, lifting a prayer, or writing a number on a piece of paper. Heaven begins to respond. Not because the act is powerful, but because the faith is, hold your paper again. Look at it. Feel the weight of it. Not in grams, not in thickness, but in meaning. You have written 888, 520, 777. You have turned this paper into a spiritual contract, one that declares abundance, unexpected blessings, and divine favor. But before we place this paper in your pocket, it must go through one more step, the sealing of the energy. Now, I know the word energy can make some people uncomfortable. It sounds mystical. It sounds strange. It sounds unfamiliar. But, my friend, energy is simply the movement of intention. When you pray, that is energy. When you speak kindness, that is energy. When you believe in God's goodness, that is energy. When Scripture tells us that faith is the substance of things hoped for, that is describing energy. Faith in motion, intention becoming substance. So the next step is to make sure nothing about this paper remains sharp, anxious, or stagnant. That is why we round the corners. People sometimes ask, does cutting corners really matter? And I tell them, it's not the scissors that matter, it's the symbolism. Sharp corners represent stuck places, blocked energy, old cycles, the edges of past pain. Soft, rounded corners represent flow, movement, and spiritual ease. Hold the paper gently. Take your scissors and slowly, carefully cut each of the four corners. As you do, I want you to speak in your heart, I release every blockage, I release every limitation, I release every fear tied to money. With each snip, you are symbolically removing the old edges of your financial past, edges that may have been shaped by fear, scarcity, lack, or stress. When the corners fall away, something beautiful happens. The paper becomes softer, more open, more fluid. And that is exactly what your financial life must become. Open, flowing, free. Now place the paper in your palm. Hold it with quiet reverence. This is not a lucky charm. This is not a superstition. This is a declaration. And declarations must be treated with respect. Because what you respect increases. What you ignore weakens. What you honor grows. This paper represents the choice you have made to align yourself with abundance, and anything aligned with abundance must be treated with intention. Close your eyes for a moment and breathe. Slow, steady, deep. And as you breathe, imagine a gentle golden light surrounding that small paper in your hand. Imagine that light as the presence of God, the assurance of heaven, the promise that you are not walking into abundance alone. Imagine that light wrapping around your numbers, 888, 520, 777, activating them, energizing them, strengthening them. Now I want you to whisper something softly, quietly, but with conviction. I am ready to receive. These 4 words unlock what fear once denied you. These 4 words tell heaven, my posture has changed. My heart has changed. My expectation has changed. Because God does not pour into closed hands, He pours into open ones. Now let me teach you something powerful. Your wallet or purse is not just a container for money, it is a container for financial energy. Some people carry wallets filled with fear, with receipts of debt, with reminders of struggle, and they wonder why abundance avoids them. But when you place this paper inside your wallet, you are transforming that wallet into a symbol of gratitude, expectancy, and alignment. But before we do that, I need to give you a secret, a small but powerful addition that amplifies everything you have written. Cinnamon, just a tiny pinch, not a spoonful, not a handful, just a small touch, enough that when you sprinkle it onto the paper, it lightly dusts the surface. Why cinnamon? Because for thousands of years, cinnamon has been considered a spice of blessing, a sign of abundance, an activator of prosperity. In ancient texts, in early trade routes, in sacred ceremonies, cinnamon represented wealth. It was rare, it was precious, it was powerful. And even today, it holds that symbolic meaning. When you sprinkle cinnamon on the paper, you are saying, let abundance be sweet in my life. You are saying, let blessings rise quickly. You are saying, let favor have fragrance and strength. So take your pinch, sprinkle it lightly, watch it rest on the numbers, and truly feel the intention deepening. Now fold the paper once, just once, not too tight, not too stiff. Let it breathe, let it carry flow. And now comes the sacred moment. Place the paper inside your wallet. Not thrown in, not shoved, not lost. Place it carefully. Let it sit near your cash, near your cards, near the place where money enters and exits your life. Let it rest there like a seed planted in the soil of your financial world, because for the next 7 days, this paper will work in silence. It will remind your spirit. It will shift your mindset. It will open doors you didn't see before. It will help you notice opportunities you once overlooked. It will tune your energy toward abundance. And most importantly, it will show God that you are standing in faith, not fear. 7 days, the number of completion, the number God used to finish creation, the number that symbolizes divine cycles. Keep the paper there. Do not remove it early. Do not forget it. Do not lose it. Carry it with intention. And as you carry it, I want you to notice the changes, not just the financial ones, but the emotional ones. You may feel lighter, calmer, more aligned. You may feel hope rising where there was anxiety. You may feel clarity where there was confusion. And that is proof that the shift has begun, my friend. Now that the paper is in your wallet, now that the numbers have been written and sealed with intention, we enter the sacred period I call the 7-day shift. This is where the true transformation begins. Quietly, gently, often invisibly at first, but undeniably. Because once spiritual alignment is activated, something moves in the unseen long before it appears in the seen. And over these next 7 days, you will not just carry that paper. You will carry a new posture. Let me tell you something important as we step into this part. Most people want change, but they do not prepare for change. They want abundance, but their heart is still tuned to scarcity. They want blessing, but their expectations are shaped by past disappointments. They want God to open doors, but they stand in front of those doors with the same fear that kept them locked before. But you, my friend, you have already done something different. You have taken action. You have stepped out. You have created a physical symbol of your spiritual readiness. And heaven responds to readiness the way fire responds to oxygen. It ignites, it quickens, it expands. Now during these 7 days, something very meaningful begins to unfold. The first shift happens inside your mind. You may start noticing that the heavy thoughts you used to carry about money begin to soften. The fear may not disappear instantly, but it begins to lose its grip. It loosens, it cracks, it weakens. You might find yourself worrying less. You might find yourself hoping a little more. You might notice a calmness settling into your spirit at unexpected moments. That is not coincidence. That is alignment. The second shift happens in your awareness. You begin to notice things you once ignored. Small opportunities, open doors, invitations, ideas, possibilities that once blended into the background. It's like someone has turned the lights on inside your mind and things that were blurry become clear. You realize, I could try that. You think, I never noticed this before. You feel, maybe I can do this. That, my friend, is the abundance frequency awakening. And the third shift, perhaps the most beautiful, happens in your environment. You might receive a discount when you weren't expecting one. Someone might treat you to something. You may find money you forgot about. You may get an opportunity you didn't apply for. Someone might give you something you needed without you asking. Finances may stretch further than usual. Small blessings begin to appear like little footprints of abundance walking toward you. Now listen closely, these signs matter. They may seem small, but spiritually they are enormous. They are heaven tapping on your shoulder saying, see, I am doing a new thing. Do you perceive it? Because blessings rarely begin with the final harvest. They begin with sprouting seeds, and the wise soul recognizes even the smallest sprout as a promise. But I want to prepare you for something else too, something just as important. When you begin shifting into abundance, the enemy of your soul often tries to whisper old lies. He tries to bring back doubt. He tries to remind you of the times when things didn't work out. He tries to poke at your past disappointments, not because he has power over you, but because he fears who you are becoming. He fears a person who believes. He fears a person who acts. He fears a person who walks in faith. He fears a person aligned with abundance. So if doubt arises, do not be discouraged. Doubt is not a sign that the process is failing. Doubt is a sign that something powerful is unfolding, and fear is trying to pull you away from it. But you must remain steadfast. You must stay aligned. Whenever doubt comes, place your hand gently on your wallet and whisper within your heart, it is done. These three words cut through fear like a blade. They remind your spirit of the affirmation you wrote. They remind your mind of the shift you have chosen. They remind heaven that you are standing firm. And now I want to tell you about a part of this 7-day shift that many people don't expect. There may come a moment within these 7 days where something in your life releases. Perhaps a bill gets paid off. Perhaps a job that wasn't serving you ends. Perhaps you let go of a habit that held you back. Perhaps a relationship moves out of your life. Perhaps something old finally closes. Do not resist these closures. Do not fear these transitions. Do not grieve these endings, because in spiritual law, before abundance enters, old energy exits. That is why the number 9 represents closure. That is why cycles complete before blessings begin. That is why pruning happens before growth. These closures are not loss, they are preparation. They create space for the new. Now let us go deeper into these 7 days. I want to give you a simple practice that will amplify the energy of your numbers and keep your heart aligned. Each morning, before you start your day, place your hand on your wallet and say softly, I receive unexpected blessings today. Say it like a whisper of faith. Say it like a quiet agreement with heaven. Say it like someone who is already experiencing the shift. And at night, before you sleep, place your wallet near your heart for just a moment and say, thank you, God, for today's blessings, seen and unseen. This practice anchors your spirit at the beginning of the day and settles it peacefully at the end. It tells your subconscious, we are walking in abundance now. And when the subconscious agrees, the external world follows. But there is something even more important I need to teach you. The blessing does not always arrive in the way you expect it. God rarely sends provision through the door you're staring at. He sends it through the door you're not expecting. That's why 520, unexpected money, matters so deeply. It forces you to stay open, not fixated. Stay open, my friend. Stay flexible. Stay receptive. Because you may find that the blessing comes through a person who suddenly remembers you, through an opportunity that falls into your lap, through a moment where you were simply in the right place at the right time, through a shift in your work, through ideas you've never had before, through chances you didn't see coming. Abundance is creative. Blessings are inventive. God is unpredictable in the most beautiful way. And now, as we conclude this part, I want you to understand one final truth. The numbers you wrote, 888, 520, 777, are not just symbols of abundance. They are reflections of your willingness to change. They are a mirror of your readiness. They are proof that you are stepping into a new chapter. You have planted the seed. You have aligned your spirit. You have opened the door. You are walking into a different financial future. My friend, now that you have walked through the 7-day shift, now that your spirit has begun to soften, open, and receive, we must speak about something far greater than a ritual. Because a ritual can activate abundance, yes, but it is your lifestyle, your posture, your ongoing agreement with heaven that keeps the flow alive long after the paper has faded and the 7 days have passed. And tonight I want to speak into your heart the way a gentle shepherd speaks to a weary traveler at the end of a long journey. Because what you've done these past days has not just changed your energy. It has changed your trajectory. It has changed the path in front of you. It has changed the way heaven moves on your behalf. And now, right now, you stand in the space between who you used to be and who you are becoming. The question is no longer, will abundance come? The question now is, how will you live as someone who expects it? Because the truth is this, God never intended abundance to be a one-time event. Not a single blessing, not a momentary breakthrough, not a flash of provision that fades as quickly as it appears. No, my friend, God designed abundance to be a rhythm, a flow, a way of walking, a way of being. And to step fully into that life, there is something your soul must understand. Abundance does not live in the hands. It lives in the heart. You can fill your wallet with symbols. You can write numbers filled with meaning. You can practice the ritual perfectly. But if your heart remains in a place of fear, if your expectations remain tied to old disappointments, if your spirit remains hesitant to trust, then the river cannot flow as freely as it is meant to. But I can feel it. Your heart has changed. Something inside you has awakened. Something has begun to believe again. And belief, my friend, is the birthplace of every miracle. Over these days, you have noticed glimpses of change. Small ones, perhaps, subtle ones, but real. And now we must transform those glimpses into a lifestyle, a way of thinking, walking, responding, expecting. Let me tell you something that many people never understand. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you expect. Wanting is emotional. Expecting is spiritual. Wanting is hopeful. Expecting is confident. Wanting is desire. Expecting is agreement. And when heaven sees expectation, it recognizes it as permission. Permission to move, permission to bless, permission to align circumstances in your favor, permission to open doors that were once closed, permission to send opportunities that others overlook, permission to bring provision from unexpected places. My friend, expectation is faith-wearing shoes. It walks, it moves, it acts, it prepares. So now, after these 7 days, I want you to continue walking as someone who is preparing for blessing, preparing for opportunities, preparing for divine increase, not merely wishing, not waiting with uncertainty, but preparing with quiet confidence. Because preparation is the language of faith. When someone begins preparing a room, it means they truly believe a guest is coming. When someone begins preparing their heart, it means they truly believe a blessing is coming. When someone begins preparing their life, it means they truly believe a new chapter is unfolding. And that is exactly what you must do now. Let me tell you something sacred. Abundance does not arrive in chaos. It arrives where there is room. It arrives where there is readiness. It arrives where a person has gently cleared out the old parts of their life to make space for the new. So in the days ahead, I want you to pay attention to your environment, your habits, your routines. Not with stress, not with pressure, but with awareness. You may feel inspired to clean a drawer, organize a wallet, release an old item, change small patterns in your daily life. Do not ignore these impulses. They are not random. They are signs that your spirit is making room, because every time you clear space in the physical world, you send a message into the spiritual world. I am ready for increase. And my friend, heaven hears you. But there is something deeper still, something most people never learn. Abundance is not built only through your actions. Abundance is built through your identity, through who you believe you are, through the way you speak to yourself, through the way you walk into a room, through the way you approach decisions. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, life will agree with you. If you see yourself as someone who just gets by, circumstances will confirm it. If you see yourself as someone who always loses opportunities, you will continue to watch them slip away. But when you begin to see yourself as someone chosen, someone guided, someone supported, someone favored, the world mirrors that identity back to you. Self-perception is spiritual law in motion. So now, I want to guide you gently into the final transformation of this entire ritual. The shift from doing to becoming. Because these past days, you did things, you wrote numbers, you carried a symbol, you followed daily intentions, you watched for signs. And all of this was powerful, meaningful, transformative. But now, my friend, it is time to become the person who naturally attracts abundance, not temporarily, not occasionally, not only during rituals, but as a way of life. This means walking with a quieter heart. It means trusting the process even when the path is unclear. It means speaking to yourself with kindness instead of fear. It means celebrating small blessings as if they were great ones. It means staying open to new opportunities. It means stepping into each day with expectancy instead of anxiety. And most of all, it means remembering that you are not alone in this journey. You have not been walking through these days by your own strength. God has been beside you, guiding your thoughts, softening your fears, opening your awareness, preparing your path, whispering into your spirit when you needed comfort, strengthening your faith when doubt tried to rise.